Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nona from thealignedlover.com. I have a new series for you, an intro to the Kibbe system, basically distilling down my interpretations of the system. So if you want a pure, uncut, straight from the source take, go to Kibbe himself. These are just my interpretations of his very valuable, lovely, lovely system. I love it so much. That's why I talk about it all the time. And today we're going to go over the dramatic and romantic family. So we're going over 4 IDs: the romantic, theatrical romantic, the dramatic, and soft dramatic. All right, so what is the Kibbe system? The Kibbe system is a yin-yang based system, which I'll get into, that seeks to categorize 3 aspects of the silhouette in terms of yin and yang. So those 3 aspects are size, your height, your scaling, your proportions, frame, your bone structure, your skeleton, and flesh, your muscle, your tissue, what goes on top of your bones. And why? Why are we classifying these 3 aspects in terms of yin and yang? Because we want to find the most accommodating ways to really present one's silhouettes, one's aspects in a very truthful way. So this is not a system that means or seeks to impose an artificial shape on the body. It is not a system that wants to obscure or hide flaws or balance out body aspects. This is a system that really wants to celebrate what your silhouette actually looks like, what are the strongest aspects of your silhouette. So this is a great system, especially if you need to get over societal conditioning and embrace the body you have. There's just so many different body types, so much variety, and they're all beautiful. All right, now yin and yang are more like philosophical concepts. So how are we going to distill that down into clothing? So let's talk about these little icons here that I chose for yin and yang. So yin, I chose this circular wreath with these ornate little decentralized floral details because yin is small, it's round, it's fluid, it's gently wide, it's lush, it's diffuse, it's discontinuous, it's ornate. If you want to get the feel for a very yin kind of vision or aesthetic, watch Marie Antoinette. There's so much fluidity, draping, swirling patterns, soft shapes, roundness, lushness in the movie. So ornate. Oppositely, yang. I chose this arrow because yang is more angular, it's more narrow, sharp, direct, centralized, clear, continuous, architectural, streamlined. Watch The Matrix if you want to get more of that yang feel. Now, remember that the system exists on 2 levels, the more loosely measurable objective parts where you're breaking down or analyzing the silhouette, and also the more intangible aspect where you're getting the vibe and the feel of someone. And both need to be honored. You can't just consider one, you need to consider both. All right, so what do extreme yin and yang silhouettes look like? Let's look at our examples for the romantics, the pure yins, and dramatics, the pure yangs. So let's start off with Liz Taylor over here. She is a romantic. She is yin in size, frame, and flesh. Yin in size, she's small, she's petite, she's compact, she's shorter looking. Yin in frame, her bone structure is softly wide. There's a lot of gentle and round edges. She's got shorter proportions with delicacy, especially at the wrists, the joints, the ankles, the knees, the elbows. And she's yin in flesh. Her flesh is softer, rounder, more supple, more yielding, curvy. And as for dramatics, yang in size, yang in frame, yang in flesh, we have Katharine Hepburn. She's yang in size. She's tall. She's elongated. She's longer and larger looking. She's yang in frame. She's more angular, sharper, larger, relatively broader in bone structure. And she's yang in flesh. She's more lithe, sleek, firm. She's got more of that rectangular quality to her limbs rather than that very round quality. Now, please remember that all of these words are celebrating different and unique traits. Don't let words like larger or smaller or shorter trigger you, because there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in being larger. There's no shame in being shorter or rounder. That's all societal conditioning. All different types of bodies are lovely. So try not to get triggered by these words, because there's no shame in having these different qualities. All right, so how do you accommodate extreme yin and yang? How do you choose fabrics and cuts that will clearly represent and reinforce the shapes that are already on the silhouette? Now, for someone who is very yin all throughout, yin in size, frame, and flesh, you're going to have a more subtle, soft terrain. So you want to create a soft, fluid, continuous vertical line. You don't want to chop up your body into too many harsh segments, nor do you want to envelope your body in like one columnar sheath, because that's going to overwhelm the softer, more subtle outline of your body. So you want a soft, fluid, proportionate kind of line. Think of water kind of dripping over your body. The water is going to mold to all of your softer contours. Now, in terms of frame, you want to choose shapes that are reinforcing the aspects of your skeleton. So, yin and frame, soft, rounded shapes. There's nothing angular or linear or sharp about this skeleton. So, you want to choose shapes that are soft, have soft, gentle volumes, rounded, soft edges, soft width to it, very gentle, and lots of waist emphasis. Now, yin and flesh. How do you accommodate this softer, more curvaceous kind of flesh? You want to choose fluid fabrics, yielding fabrics that will mold to the subtle terrain of your body. You don't want stiff fabrics that are going to impose structure or linearity onto your limbs, your body. You want, again, moldability, softness. Now, oppositely, yang. How do you accommodate a yang frame, size, flesh? So, with the yang dominant silhouette, you want that bold, architectural, structural, vertical line. You want it to be clear. You want streamlined linearity. There's nothing subtle, or there's nothing really yielding about the yang dominant frame or outline. So you just want to reinforce this boldness, this decisive shape. Now, in terms of accommodating the yang frame, again, reinforcing their sculptural, architectural body type, emphasis on the shoulders, emphasis on angles, emphasis on linearity and streamlined shapes, crispness, tailoredness, sculptedness. In terms of fabric, mid to heavy fabrics that can keep their shape and that can keep their elongation without having to fall into soft volumes, without being like floaty, without being frilly. Those are great for, again, continuing the idea. Now, to clarify, let's look at how not to accommodate extreme yin and yang, starting off with Liz again. So here, starting off with her vertical line, she's really chopped herself in half, very high contrast top and bottom, harsh horizontal line here at the waistband. It just totally overwhelms the soft outline of her figure. She's got some oversized, linear, and angular shapes going on, the collar, the pockets, the waistband, the oversized sleeves, and fit throughout the thighs. It's just reading a little bit too chunky, and it's not molding to her body. And as for fabric, this fabric is more stiff. It's not yielding. Now, how not to accommodate a dramatic. First, we have a more clingy, slightly broken vertical line, because we just have so many different aspects and levels. We have a contrast at the shoulders, a little frilly sleeves, gloves, the hat. It's just really disrupting that strong architectural quality of her body. In terms of shapes, we have very like rounded, ornate, perky, floaty shapes. And in terms of fabric, again, the frilly, ornate little details here, and a lot of very soft yielding fabric that's not being used in a very elongated way. All right, so for some modern day examples of extreme yin and yang, for romantics, we have Emilia Clarke here and Madonna here, looking so beautiful, and these lovely dresses with so much soft fluidity, ornateness, waist emphasis, soft volumes, fluid continuous line. Here we have dramatic examples, Kate Blanchett and Claire Danes, elongation, angularity. Here with Kate, we have these very sculpted shoulders, this very plunging, sharp neckline, very continuous kind of theme going overall. It's very unified. She looks very tall and powerful and angular, gorgeous. And with Claire, the more silky fabric is being used to emphasize elongation instead of like curve and ornateness. Gorgeous, very angular neckline, lovely straps, and just very clear shoulders. Again, she looks very powerful and broad. And just a note on any of these words, of course, romantics can look powerful too, and dramatics can look like lovely and lush in their own ways. But we're going to kind of be generalizing a little bit in this video. And if you want more specific, nuanced breakdowns, I have videos, so many videos on individuals going into the body types, different outfits, even colors and essence. So this video is going to be a little bit more generalized. All right, so now let's get into the other members of the romantic and dramatic family, starting off with the theatrical romantics. They are yin with a slight yang undercurrent, and our examples here are Jane Seymour and Vivian Lee. So they are still a yin in size. They look quite small, petite, trim, and compact. Their frame is mostly yin, with a little bit of yang sharpness. They have a little bit of that trimness, narrowness, more elongation, slight angularity. You're going to see that through their shoulders mostly, a little bit through perhaps the waist and hips a bit more. They just have a less kind of lush, softly and gently wide bone structure, and you're going to see more yang aspects. And as for their flesh, they're still quite yin. And the reason they look a little bit more trim than romantics, even though their undercurrent or their flesh is still yin, is because of the bone structure. So if you put the same flesh on someone who is gently wide, they're going to look different than if you put the same amount of flesh on someone who is a little bit more elongated. All right, so the other member of the dramatic family, the soft dramatics, they are yang with a yin undercurrent. So their size, they're still yang, they're still on the taller or larger looking, more grand kind of scale. Their frame is yang with possible bits of extra narrowness, maybe at the hands, the feet, the wrists, and the ankles. But in the system, that cannot be delicate because their length offsets the narrowness. So in the Kibbe system, from my understanding, delicacy is only a yin thing. There's that size aspect to it. Now, in terms of flesh, they have a yin quality to their flesh. They're more soft, more supple, more rounder, more curvaceous. All right, so how do you accommodate these IDs? So let's start off with theatrical romantic, yin with yang. So you still want that fluid, soft line that's going to mold to these more delicate shapes. For the yin with yang frame, you're going to introduce a little bit more tapering, that yang aspect, a little bit more sharpness, a little bit more of that angularity. So you're going to see more tapering, especially at the shoulders, perhaps at the necklines, maybe a little bit more tapering at the waist even. It's just a little sharper compared to romantics. And as for the fabrics that they can choose, still very lush, fluid, drapey fabrics, but their details tend to be a little bit more bold, maybe a little bit more oversized, so they can handle a little bit more of an oversized pattern relative to pure romantics because, again, they do have that yang quality to them, and yang tends to be accommodated with more bold, bigger kinds of details. All right, so how do you accommodate soft dramatics, yang with yin? So still you want the vertical line to be extended and elongated, but you do want that fluidity, that softness, that moldability, not as columnar and sharply architectural as a pure dramatic, because again, they have that softness to their frame, and it's very prominent in their frame, so it really needs to be accommodated even with their vertical. As for their shapes, their frame, you still want to honor their angularity, but you want to create more bold, sweeping, flared shapes and a little bit more of a soft-edged approach as opposed to just sharp, linear edges. In terms of accommodating the flesh, you want more fluid fabrics, plush fabrics. So plush fabrics are a little bit thicker, more fuzzy. They can handle this more than romantics because of their size. They don't get overwhelmed as much with these slightly thicker kinds of soft fabrics because they are proportionally bigger. There's less of that like smaller scale to accommodate, and ornateness. So much ornateness. They look great in very lush, extravagant, very voluptuous, sensuous details. All right, so let's look at some modern day examples of these families. So we have here on the right two red dresses, Mila Kunis and again Jane Seymour. I love Jane Seymour, especially if you want a more mature style inspiration. I think Jane is in her 70s now and she's still like killing it style-wise, beauty-wise. She's just great. Okay, so here's Mila in a very beautiful, sharper off-shoulder neckline, long elongated dress. Jane, she's got a little bit of ornateness going on. Fluid, but a little bit more tapered, a little bit more of that sharpness going on. It's less floaty and fluid than the romantic. And here we have soft dramatics. Beautiful Sofia Vergara here, ornate necklace, big bold neckline, very fluid skirt with all of these lovely little pleats. And then we have Christina Hendricks here, lovely velvet fabric, beautiful neckline, just so much elongated curve hugging body molding shapes, and this big train that just is so proportionate with her figure. All right, and to clarify, let's talk about how not to accommodate these types. So here with both Jane and Mila, we're seeing a lot of high contrast with the top and bottom. So a non-continuous line is very separate. Here we're seeing kind of oversized, relatively oversized items that lack tapering, that lack very emphasized waist definition. And as for details, they're just very plain and simple. It's more minimalistic. And generally, that tends to kind of flatten the more ornate feel of the theatrical romantic. They look better generally with some kind of details that bring to mind the quality of their silhouette and their scaling. Now with the soft dramatics, we have Christina in a more sculpted, tailored blazer. There's just a lot of linear aspects going on. It's just a very constraining kind of outfit. It's not really flowing with her lush curves. It's kind of trying to flatten or contain her body. And it's just not a very continuous kind of outfit either, just a lot of contrast. And here, Sophia is wearing a very relatively for her oversized outfit, there's just no tapering, no sweeping, soft curve hugging lines, strong separation between top and bottom. There's just a lot of high contrast. Again, you're just not seeing waist emphasis either. So and in terms of fabric, it's a little bit more matte, a little thicker and rough. Probably not the best choice for a more lush, soft dramatic. All right, so those were my little breakdowns of the dramatic and romantic families, trying to cover the basics, the general ideas. Again, if you want more nuanced analyses, I break down individuals in terms of not only the Kibbe system, but I also go into essence, a whole nother system, and even into seasonal colors. So there's just so many aspects to style. There's so many different layers. Don't try to rely on only one system, because you're always going to feel like, oh, some part of you is not being accommodated or recognized, because one system is not going to recognize all of your nuances and all of the layers of your self-expression. So don't have that expectation that you're going to be completely 100% recognized by one system, but do try to get all the value you can from a variety of systems. Have fun with it and don't overthink it. So I'll cover the other families in the next videos, and I hope you continue to enjoy this series. Thank you for watching.